The transport ship landed on Nova 7 with a soft hum. Hana stepped out and took her first breath of the colony air. It smelled like earth and growing things. She adjusted her recording device and looked around the small landing pad. This was nothing like the core world she came from. A young human girl sat on a fence nearby, watching her with curious eyes. She looked about 16 years old, with dark hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore dirt-stained work clothes and heavy boots. "You must be the scientist," the girl said. "I'm Jiwoo. My father is expecting you." Hana nodded politely. She was Velkari, a species known for their pale blue skin and large eyes. Her people valued knowledge above all else. That was why the Galactic Agricultural Council sent her here. Humans had a strange talent for making plants grow in impossible places. They walked down a dirt road together. Fields stretched out on both sides. Hana could see rows of crops she didn't recognize. The planet's red sun hung low in the sky, painting everything in warm colors. "How long have you lived here?" Hana asked. "My whole life," Jiwoo said. 15 years. "My father started this farm before I was born." "Do you like it?" Jiwoo shrugged. "It's boring. Nothing ever happens here. I want to go to the city someday, see the galaxy, but father says the farm needs me." They reached a simple house made of local stone. Behind it, Hana could see a large barn and more fields. A man stood near the barn checking something on a data pad. He looked up as they approached. Day one was not what Hana expected. He was in his late 40s, she guessed. His face was weathered from working outside. He wore simple farmer clothes, much like his daughter. But there was something about his eyes. They looked old, tired, like they had seen too much. "Welcome," Day one said. His voice was quiet and calm. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "It was fine, thank you," Hana replied. "I'm grateful you agreed to let me study your methods." "It's just farming," Day one said with a small smile. "Nothing special, but you're welcome to watch and learn." Over the next few days, Hana followed Day one around the farm. He woke before sunrise every morning. He checked the soil moisture, adjusted the irrigation systems, and examined each plant with careful attention. He worked with his hands more than most humans she had met. Many colonies used robots for farming, but Daewon preferred to do the work himself. "The machines don't understand the plants," he explained one morning. They were in the eastern field checking the grain crop. "You have to feel the soil. Listen to what it tells you," Hana recorded his words. "But machines are more efficient." "Maybe," Daewon said. He knelt down and picked up a handful of dirt. "But efficiency isn't everything. These plants are alive. They respond to care, to attention. You can't program that into a machine." Hana noticed things about Daewon. His hands had strange scars on them. Not the kind you get from farm work. These were different, deeper. Some looked like burn marks. Others looked like they came from blades. She wondered about them but didn't ask. She also noticed how he moved. Most farmers his age moved slowly, their bodies tired from years of hard work. But Daewon moved with a strange grace. When he reached for tools, his movements were precise, controlled, almost like a dance. One evening, Hana found him standing alone in the field. The sun was setting. He was staring up at the stars, which were just starting to appear. His expression made her stop. He looked sad, haunted, like he was remembering something painful. "Are you all right?" she asked carefully. Daewon blinked and the expression vanished. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just enjoying the quiet. It's peaceful here." "You've lived here a long time?" 20 years, he said. "Since Jiwoo was born. This is a good place to raise a child, safe, far from everything." "Far from everything," Hana repeated. "Is that what you wanted?" Daewon looked at her for a long moment. "Yes," he finally said. "That's exactly what I wanted." Jiwoo often complained about the farm during dinner. She wanted to leave, to see other worlds, to do something exciting. Daewon always listened patiently. "The galaxy isn't what you think it is," he would say gently. "It's dangerous out there. People get hurt. It's better here. Nothing ever happens here," Jiwoo would argue. "That's the problem. Sometimes nothing happening is a blessing," Daewon replied. Hana watched these exchanges with interest. There was something Daewon wasn't saying. Something about his past. She checked the colony records one evening, curious. Daewon had arrived 20 years ago with infant Jiwoo. Before that, nothing. No records of where he came from or what he did. It was like he appeared from nowhere. The Velkari didn't believe in secrets. Knowledge should be shared. But Hana sensed that pushing Daewon would be wrong. Whatever he was hiding, he had good reasons. The farm impressed her more each day. Daewon grew crops that shouldn't survive in Nova 7's soil. He had somehow modified them, mixing human agricultural knowledge with local conditions. His yields were 3 times higher than other farms in the colony. "How did you learn all this?" Hana asked one afternoon. They were in the greenhouse where Daewon grew experimental crops. "I read a lot," Daewon said, "and I had time to practice. Trial and error. The plants teach you if you pay attention, but this level of knowledge usually requires formal training, university studies." Daewon's hands paused in their work for just a moment. "I had some training long ago, before I came here." "Non, what kind of training?" "The kind that doesn't matter anymore," Daewon said firmly. The tone of his voice made it clear the subject was closed. That night, Hana couldn't sleep. She went outside and found Daewon in his barn. He was sitting on a workbench, staring at a metal case on the floor. The case looked old and worn. It had locks on it. Heavy ones. Daewon didn't notice her at first. He reached toward the case, then pulled his hand back. He did this several times, like he was fighting with himself. Finally, he stood up and walked away from the case without opening it. Hana quietly returned to the house. She didn't mention what she saw. The colony was peaceful. Only 3,000 people lived here, spread across the farming valley. Everyone knew everyone. Crime was almost zero. The nearest military base was weeks away by ship. Nobody bothered them. They grew crops, raised families, and lived simple lives. Daewon seemed to love this peace. He smiled when he worked. He was patient with Jiwoo even when she complained. He was kind to Hana, answering her questions and teaching her about farming. But sometimes when he thought nobody was watching, that haunted look returned to his eyes. He would stare at the sky like he was looking for something, or maybe afraid something would appear. Hana finished her first week on the farm feeling confused. Daewon was the best farmer she had ever studied. His techniques would help colonies across the galaxy. But he was also a mystery, a man hiding from something, running from a past he wouldn't discuss. She decided to stay longer than planned. Not just to study farming, but to understand the quiet farmer with the sad eyes and scarred hands. Something told her there was an important story here. She had no idea how right she was. The alarms woke everyone before dawn. Hana jumped out of bed, confused and frightened. The sound was loud and piercing. She had never heard anything like it. Jiwoo burst into her room. "Emergency meeting at the town hall. We have to go now." "What's happening?" Hana asked. "I don't know." But father already left. They ran through the dark streets. Other colonists were doing the same, all heading toward the town center. Hana could hear fear in their voices. People were asking questions nobody could answer. The town hall was packed. Administrator Sung Min stood on the stage, his face pale. Daewon was in the back, leaning against a wall. His expression was carefully neutral. Too neutral. "Please, everyone calm down," Sung Min said. His voice shook. "We have a situation. A Rakthi pirate fleet has entered our system. 12 warships." The room exploded with noise. People shouted questions. Some cried. The Rakthi were known across the galaxy as brutal raiders. "They showed no mercy. How long do we have?" Someone yelled. "They're demanding our surrender," Sung Min continued. "We have 24 hours to comply. They want all our supplies, our technology, and they want hostages." "What about the military?" Another person shouted. "Can they help us?" "The nearest military outpost is 3 weeks away," Sung Min said quietly. Even if they sent ships immediately, they wouldn't arrive in time. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. They were alone, defenseless. Hana felt sick. The Velkari had no military. Her people were scholars and artists. She had never imagined being in danger like this. She looked around the room and saw the same fear on every face except Daewon. He stood perfectly still, his eyes focused on something far away. He didn't look scared. He looked like he was thinking, calculating. "We should evacuate," someone suggested. "Take the ships and run." "There aren't enough ships for everyone," Sung Min replied. "And the Rakthi would shoot down anything that tried to leave. They've already blocked the system." "Then we fight," a young man shouted. His name was Byung-ho. He worked as the colony's defense coordinator, though that mostly meant checking security cameras and maintaining the old defense satellite. "We have some weapons." We have hunting rifles and 1 broken defense satellite," Sung Min interrupted. "They have 12 warships. We can't fight them. The meeting continued for hours. People suggested plans, each more desperate than the last. Nothing would work. The Rakti had them trapped. Hana noticed Dewan slip out quietly. She followed him. She found him walking back to his farm. The sun was rising now, painting the fields in gold light. Dewan walked with his hands in his pockets, his head down. What will you do? Hana asked. Pack supplies, Dewan said. Send Jiwoo to the emergency bunkers. Hope for the best. That's all? Just hide and hope? Daewon stopped walking. He turned to look at her. What else can we do? We're farmers, not soldiers. But the Rakthi will... I know what they'll do, Daewon said. His voice was hard now. I know exactly what they'll do. That's why Jiwoo needs to be safe. That's all that matters. When they reached the farm, Jiwoo was already packing. She was crying silently as she stuffed clothes into a bag. We should fight, she said when she saw her father. Everyone is just giving up. We should do something. Fighting will only get people killed faster, Daewon replied. The bunkers are deep. The Rakthi might not find them. You'll be safe there. What about you? I'll do what I can to help people evacuate. Jiwoo threw her bag down. This is wrong. You're always talking about doing the right thing, but now you won't even try to defend our home. Violence isn't the answer, Daewon said firmly. It never is. Then what is the answer? Jiwoo screamed. Just die? Just let them kill us? Daewon had no reply. He just pulled his daughter into a hug while she sobbed against his chest. Hana left them alone. She walked to the barn, needing space to think. Inside, she saw the metal case again. It was still locked, still sitting in the corner like a forgotten thing. She knelt beside it. Up close, she could see marks on it. Scratches and dents. Like it had been through battles. There were words stamped into the metal, but they were in a human military code she didn't understand. You shouldn't touch that. Hana jumped. Daewon stood in the doorway. His voice wasn't angry, just tired. I'm sorry, Hana said. I was just curious. Daewon walked over and stood looking down at the case. In the dim light of the barn, he looked older. The weight of years pressed down on him. What's inside? Hana asked quietly. A different life, Daewon said. One I left behind. Maybe that life could help us now. Daewon's jaw tightened. That life only brings death. I swore I would never go back to it. Even if people die because you don't. The question hung in the air between them. Daewon didn't answer. He turned and walked back to the house. That evening, the Rakthi sent a message. It appeared on every screen in the colony. A massive alien filled the display. His skin was gray and rough like stone. His eyes were yellow and cruel. Tusks protruded from his jaw. Humans of Nova 7, the Rakthi leader said. I am Warlord Thexus. You have 16 hours to surrender. Gather in your central square. Bring all valuables. Prepare to serve your new masters. If you resist, we will kill every 10th person. If you fight, we will kill everyone. These are your only choices. The message ended. The colony descended into panic. Some people started loading their personal ships, planning to run despite the danger. Others went to the bunkers early. A few tried to organize resistance, gathering old weapons and planning ambushes. Byung-ho worked through the night in the administration building. He was searching through old colony files, looking for anything that might help. Defense plans, hidden weapons, anything. He found something strange, a file from 20 years ago. It was heavily encrypted, but he managed to open it. What he read made him go pale. He ran to find Administrator Sung-min. They talked in urgent whispers. Then they both went looking for Daewon. Meanwhile, Daewon stood in his field under the stars. The night was beautiful, peaceful. It reminded him why he came here. Why he stayed. This simple life was everything he wanted. Everything he fought for long ago. Jiwoo was safe in the bunkers. That was good. She would survive even if he didn't, even if the colony didn't. He looked down at his hands, scarred hands, hands that had held weapons instead of farming tools, hands that had taken lives instead of growing them. I'm not that man anymore, he whispered to himself. But deep down, he knew the truth. You can't stop being what you are. You can only choose not to use it. And sometimes choosing not to act is the same as choosing to let evil win. The metal case called to him. Even now, standing in his field, he could feel its presence in the barn. 20 years he had kept it locked. 20 years he had kept his past buried. Violence isn't the answer, he said again, trying to convince himself. But what if it was the only answer left? Day one stayed in the field until the sun began to rise. In a few hours, the Rakthi would come. People would die. His daughter would grow up in a galaxy where evil went unopposed because good men chose peace over action. He had to decide. Keep his oath and let disaster come, or break his oath and become the monster he used to be. The farmer looked at his fields, at everything he built. Then he looked up at the sky, where 12 warships waited to destroy it all. His choice would change everything. Byung-ho found Day One in the town square. The sun was fully up now. Colonists were gathering their belongings, preparing to surrender to the Rakthi. Children cried. Adults moved like ghosts, their faces empty of hope. We need to talk, Byung-ho said. Administrator Sung-min stood behind him, holding a data pad. Dae-won looked at them calmly. About what? About who you really are, the words hung in the air. Dae-won's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Recognition. Maybe fear. I found your file. Byung-ho continued. The real one. The one that was buried in military encryption. It took me all night to crack it. Other colonists started to notice the conversation. They moved closer, curious. I don't know what you think you found, Dae-won said quietly. But I'm just a farmer. No, Byung-ho said. He activated the data pad. A hologram appeared above it. Military records, service photos, combat reports. Your commander Kang Dae-won. The ghost of Andromeda, the crowd gasped. Even Hana, who didn't know much human military history, recognized that name. Everyone in the galaxy knew that name. Dae-won closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they looked tired. That was a long time ago. 40 years, Sung-min said. You were declared dead after the siege of Terminus Station. But you survived. You disappeared. You've been hiding here all this time. More colonists gathered. Someone pulled up galactic history files on their personal device. They read aloud, their voice shaking. Commander Kang Dae-won, leader of Reaper Squadron. Special Operations, credited with turning the tide of the Galactic War. 17 capital ships destroyed. Over 3,000 confirmed enemy kills. The most decorated soldier in human military history. The crowd was silent now. Everyone stared at the quiet farmer who had lived among them for 20 years. You're a war hero, Byung-ho said. You could help us. You could save us. No, Dae-won said simply. What do you mean, no? You have the skills. The training. That man died at Terminus Station, Dae-won interrupted. His voice was hard as stone. I'm not him anymore. I can't be him anymore. Hana pushed through the crowd. She looked at Dae-won with new eyes. The scars made sense now. The way he moved. The haunted look. He wasn't running from something. He was running from himself. Why did you hide? She asked. Dae-won looked at her. For a moment, his carefully controlled expression cracked. She saw pain there. Deep old pain that never healed. Because I was tired of killing, he said. Because I saw what war really is. What it does to people. To planets, to souls. I didn't want to be that weapon anymore. I just wanted peace. We're going to die, someone in the crowd shouted. The Rakthi will kill us all. And you could stop them. Please, another person begged. My children are here. I'll do anything. Just help us, Dae-won shook his head. I took an oath. When Jiwoo was born, I swore I would never kill again. I swore I would be better than what I was. Violence isn't the answer. It never is. Sometimes it's the only answer, Byung-ho said desperately. No, there's always another way. Negotiation, diplomacy, surrender if we must. But not violence. Never again, the crowd began to argue. Some people agreed with Dae-won, saying violence would only make things worse. Others were angry, saying he was a coward. The colony was tearing itself apart. Hana followed Dae-won as he walked away from the chaos. He went to the administration building and sat on the steps. He put his head in his hands. Tell me about Terminus Station, Hana said softly. Dae-won was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was hollow. It was the final battle of the war. The enemy had taken the station. If we didn't retake it, we would lose. High Command sent my team. Reaper Squadron. 12 of us went in, he paused. His hands were shaking now. We won. We always won. But the cost? The station had civilians, families. They were caught in the crossfire. I can still hear them screaming. Still see their faces. We completed the mission, but I killed so many people. Not just soldiers, everyone. That wasn't your fault, Hana said. You were following orders. Does that matter to the dead? Daewon looked at her. His eyes were wet. I was good at killing Hana, too good. Every mission I told myself it was necessary, that I was protecting people, but in the end I was just a monster in a uniform. You're not a monster. You don't know what I've done. The things I had to do to survive, to win. I became something inhuman, something that enjoyed the hunt. That's why I ran. That's why I buried Commander Kang and became just Daewon the farmer. Because if I picked up a weapon again, I'm afraid I'd never be able to put it down. Hana sat beside him. She didn't know what to say. Her people had never experienced war like humans did. They didn't understand this kind of trauma. What about Jiwoo? She finally asked. What about her? She needs her father. If the Rakti comes, she'll lose you. She's safe in the bunkers. But she'll know you could have saved people and chose not to. How will she feel about that? Daewon stood up abruptly. Don't use my daughter to manipulate me. I'm not, Hana said. I'm just asking. What will she think? That her father was brave? Or that he was a coward? Daewon walked away without answering. The day wore on. The deadline approached. The Rakti sent another message showing images of their weapons, threatening what they would do if the colonists resisted. Jiwoo emerged from the bunkers. She found her father sitting alone in their house. Everyone is talking about you, she said, about who you were. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. You lied to me. My whole life. I was protecting you. Jiwoo's eyes flashed with anger. By lying? By pretending to be someone you're not? I am who I am now. The past doesn't matter. It matters to me, Jiwoo shouted. I thought I knew you. I thought you were just boring farmer dad, but you were a hero. A real hero. And now when people need that hero, you won't help them. Jiwoo, Young-soo is out there. Remember him? The old man who taught me to ride the hoverbike? He has grandchildren. They're going to die because you're too afraid to be who you really are. I'm not afraid, Daewon said quietly. I'm trying to be better. Better than what? Better than someone who saves lives? Daewon had no answer. Jiwoo left, slamming the door behind her. As the sun set, the Rakti deadline arrived. Their ships descended into the atmosphere, massive vessels that blocked out the sky. They landed in a circle around the colony, their weapons pointed inward. Colonists huddled in the square. Some tried to run. The Rakti ships fired warning shots, killing 5 people instantly. The message was clear. Nobody leaves. Warlord Thaxus emerged from the lead ship. He was even bigger in person, standing 3 meters tall. His soldiers followed him, weapons ready. Humans, Thaxus announced. You are now property of the Rakti Empire. You will work. You will serve. You will obey. Those who resist will be examples. He pointed at a random group of colonists. 10 people, including Young-soo. These 10 will die now, to show you the price of even thinking about resistance. The Rakti soldiers raised their weapons. Colonists screamed. Children cried. But nobody could do anything. They were surrounded, helpless. The soldiers fired. Young-soo died first, then 9 others. Their bodies fell in the dust of the square. The Rakti leader laughed. Daewon watched from a distance. He saw it all. The murders, the fear, the helplessness. Something broke inside him. He turned and walked back to his farm, to his barn, to the metal case that had waited 20 years. He knelt in front of it. His hands trembled as he entered the code. The locks clicked open. Inside was his old armor, black and scarred from 100 battles, and beneath it a sword, not a regular blade. A plasma edge combat sword, designed for close quarters fighting in space stations and ships. Daewon picked up the sword. The weight was familiar. Like coming home after a long absence. I'm sorry, he whispered. To himself. To Jiwoo. To the oath he was about to break. I'm so sorry. He put on the armor. Piece by piece. It still fit perfectly. The neural interface connected to his implants. Systems coming online that he hadn't used in decades. When he was done, Daewon the farmer was gone. Commander Kang stood in his place. The ghost of Andromeda had returned. The Rakti killed 30 more colonists that night. They called it a demonstration. They wanted to make sure everyone understood who was in charge. They chose people randomly. A teacher, a mechanic, a mother with 2 children. They lined them up and shot them one by one, slow, methodical. They made everyone watch. Young Su's grandchildren cried for their grandfather. The Rakthi soldiers laughed at their tears. Hana couldn't watch anymore. She ran to the medical building where they were taking the wounded. But there was nothing she could do. The Rakthi weapons didn't leave wounds you could heal. They disintegrated people. Jiwoo sat on the floor of the medical building, her knees pulled to her chest. Her face was wet with tears. She rocked back and forth, whispering the same words over and over. He could stop this. He could stop this. Hana sat beside her. Your father is trying to protect you the only way he knows how. By doing nothing? By hiding? By not becoming a monster again? Jiwoo looked at her with red eyes. What's worse? Being a monster who saves people? Or being good while everyone dies? Hana had no answer. The Rakthi made their camp in the town square. They set up weapons and force fields. They treated the colony like it was already theirs. Some soldiers went door to door, taking whatever they wanted. Food, technology. Sometimes they took people too. Dragged them away for reasons nobody wanted to think about. Warlord Thaxus sat on a throne made from scrap metal. He drank something from a large cup and watched his soldiers terrorize the colonists. He looked bored, like this was just another day for him. Byung-ho tried to organize resistance. A group of 20 colonists gathered in secret. They had hunting rifles and a few old military weapons from the storage. It wasn't much, but it was something. We attack at dawn, Byung-ho said. We focus on their command post. If we can kill Thaxus, maybe the others will leave. We'll die, someone said. We're dead anyway, Byung-ho replied. At least this way we fight back. But Administrator Sung-min found out about the plan. He begged them not to do it. The Rakthi will kill everyone if you attack. Not just you. Everyone, every man, woman, and child in this colony. So we just let them do whatever they want? We survive, Sung-min said desperately. We wait for help. The military will come eventually. In 3 weeks. How many of us will be left by then? The argument went on for hours. Finally, Byung-ho gave up. He couldn't risk getting everyone killed. The resistance disbanded before it even started. Daewon stood at Young-Su's grave. They had buried the dead quickly before the Rakthi could stop them. 31 graves now. Tomorrow there would be more. He still wore his farming clothes. The armor was back in the barn. The sword back in its case. He had almost put them on. Almost walked into town and done what needed to be done. But he stopped himself. One more time. One more refusal. Violence isn't the answer, he said to the grave. But the words sounded hollow now. Footsteps behind him. Hana approached carefully like she was afraid he might run. The Rakthi are planning something, she said. They're building a platform in the square. People are saying it's for executions. They're going to kill one person every hour until we meet their demands. What demands? They want our food stores, our medical supplies, everything, and they want workers, slaves. They're choosing people now. Daewon was quiet. They chose Jiwoo, Hana said softly. Daewon's head snapped up. What? She's young, strong. They picked her with 20 others. They're loading them onto a ship tomorrow morning. Daewon's hands clenched into fists. Hana could see his jaw working. The control he was famous for slipping. Where is she now? In the holding area. The old community center. Rakthi guards everywhere. Daewon turned to walk away. Hana grabbed his arm. What are you going to do? Get my daughter. They'll kill you. They'll kill everyone. Daewon looked at her hand on his arm, then at her face. His eyes were cold now, empty of the warmth she had seen before. Let me go, he said quietly. Hana released him. She watched him walk away toward his farm, toward his barn, toward the choice he had been avoiding. Inside the barn, Daewon stood in front of the metal case again. It was open. The armor gleamed in the dim light. The sword lay across the top, perfectly balanced. He thought about his oath, about the promise he made when Jiwoo was born. Never again. Never kill again. Be better. Be good. But what good was an oath if it meant losing everything that mattered? He thought about Young-Su, the old man who taught his daughter to ride. Dead now. Murdered for no reason except to make a point. He thought about the 30 others. Innocent people. Their only crime was being in the way of someone stronger. He thought about Jiwoo, his daughter. The only good thing he had ever created in a life full of destruction. They were going to take her. Make her a slave. Hurt her in ways he couldn't bear to imagine. I'm sorry, he said again. To his oath. To his conscience. to the version of himself that believed peace was always possible. But some people only understand one language. And Daewon spoke that language fluently. He picked up the sword. The plasma edge activated with a soft hum. Blue light filled the barn. This time he didn't put it down. He strapped on the armor, piece by piece. The familiar weight settled on his shoulders. The neural interface synchronized with his thoughts. Targeting systems came online. Muscle memory from 40 years ago returned instantly. He looked at himself in an old mirror. The farmer was gone. In his place stood something else. Something dangerous. Commander Kang had returned, and he was angry. Daewon walked out of the barn. The sun was setting. Long shadows stretched across his fields, the crops he had planted, the life he had built. It all felt very far away now. Hana waited outside. She stepped back when she saw him. The transformation was complete. This wasn't the gentleman who taught her about farming. This was a weapon in human form. "I need you to promise me something," Daewon said. His voice was different now, harder, colder. "What? When this is over, tell Jiwoo I did this because I love her. Not because I love war. Tell her I tried to be better. But sometimes being better means doing terrible things to stop worse things. What are you going to do?" Daewon activated his armor's communication system. He hacked into the Rakthi network easily. Their security was a joke compared to military encryption he had dealt with decades ago. He sent a message directly to Warlord Thaxis. "This is Commander Kang Daewon. You may know me by another name, the Ghost of Andromeda. I offer you a deal. Take me. Let everyone else go. I'll come to your ship willingly." The response came within seconds. Thaxis's voice was full of cruel amusement. "The Ghost? The famous Commander Kang? I thought you were dead." "This is wonderful. Yes, I accept your offer. Come to my ship at dawn. We'll kill you slowly. Broadcast it across the sector. It will be good entertainment." "I'll be there," Daewon said. "But Warlord, I want you to know something." "What?" "I gave you a chance to leave." Daewon ended the transmission. He looked at Hana one more time. "Tell my daughter I'm sorry I lied to her, but everything I did to protect her from what I really am." "What are you?" Daewon smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of something that had been chained for too long and was finally free. "I'm the reason the Galactic War ended. I'm the reason entire enemy fleets surrendered rather than face me. I'm the Ghost of Andromeda, and I'm going to remind everyone why humans won that war." He walked into the darkness, toward the Rakthi ships, toward the violence he had run from for 20 years. Behind him, Hana whispered a prayer in her native language. Not for Daewon's safety, but for forgiveness for what he was about to do, and for mercy for the Rakthi, who had no idea what was coming for them. Dawn came cold and red. Daewon walked toward the Rakthi flagship with his hands raised. He wore his armor but carried no visible weapons. The sword was locked to his back, deactivated. Rakthi soldiers surrounded him immediately. 20 of them, weapons pointed at his head. They searched him roughly, laughing at the old armor. "The great ghost," one soldier mocked. "You look small for a legend." Daewon said nothing. He let them push him forward, toward the massive ship that loomed over the colony. Inside, the corridors were dark and stank of old blood. The Rakthi didn't believe in cleaning. They believed in fear. They brought him to the command deck. Warlord Thaxis sat on his throne, surrounded by his officers. Behind them, screens showed the colony. Every street, every building, cameras everywhere. "So you came," Thaxis said. "I'm almost disappointed. I thought the ghost would be more dramatic." "Let my people go," Daewon said. "That was the deal, was it?" Thaxis laughed. "I don't remember agreeing to anything. I said I would kill you. I never said I would let anyone go." The soldiers laughed with him. Daewon stood perfectly still. "In fact," Thaxis continued, "I think we'll broadcast your execution. Then we'll kill your daughter next. Make sure everyone understands what happens to heroes." Daewon's expression didn't change. "I gave you a chance to leave. Yes, yes. Very dramatic. Now shall we begin? I want this to last at least an hour. The longer you scream, the better the show." Thaxis nodded to his soldiers. They moved forward to chain Daewon to the execution platform. It was designed for torture. Hooks and blades and devices meant to cause maximum pain. Daewon let them approach, let them get close. He counted them. 37 soldiers on the command deck, 12 officers, Warlord Thaxis, all focused on him. Perfect. As the first soldier reached for his arm, Daewon moved. His hands weren't bound yet. That was their mistake. Humans are fast, faster than most species, and Day One was faster than most humans. He snapped the soldier's neck before anyone could react, took the soldier's weapon, fired 3 shots, 3 officers dead. Then he drew his sword. The plasma edge activated. Blue light filled the command deck, and Commander Kang stopped pretending to be captured. What happened next lasted 18 minutes. Later, when people tried to describe it, they couldn't find the right words. Hana watched from the colony on the hijacked video feeds. She saw it all, and she would have nightmares about it for years. Day One moved like water, like wind, like death itself. The Rakthi were strong. They were trained warriors, but they were used to fighting other species. Slow species, predictable species. Humans evolved as hunters, persistent predators who chased prey for days until it collapsed from exhaustion. Humans had fast twitch muscles, pattern recognition, and the ability to make split-second decisions that other species needed seconds to process. Day One had all of that. Plus 40 years of combat experience, plus neural implants that connected directly to the ship's systems. He cut through the first group of soldiers in seconds. The sword moved faster than their eyes could follow. Rakthi limbs hit the floor. Their tough skin meant nothing against plasma heat. An officer tried to seal the bridge. Day One hacked the door controls through his implants. The door opened behind the officer. Day One threw his sword through the opening. It spun through the air and took the officer's head off. Day One called the sword back to his hand using the magnetic recall system. More soldiers poured in from the side corridors. Day One used the ship's artificial gravity against them. He hacked the gravity controls. The attacking soldiers suddenly weighed 3 times normal. They collapsed under their own weight. Day One walked over and executed them one by one. Thaxus roared and charged. He was huge and strong. His fist could crush metal. He swung at Day One's head with enough force to cave in a skull. Day One ducked under the swing, cut the warlord's leg tendons. Thaxus fell. Day One's sword was at his throat before he hit the ground. "Wait," Thaxus gasped. "We can negotiate. I have wealth, power, I can—" "You had a chance to leave," Day One said quietly. "You should have taken it." The sword flashed. Thaxus died. Day One didn't stop. He moved through the ship like a ghost. That's how he got his name. During the war, enemy soldiers said he appeared from nowhere, killed everyone, and vanished like he was never there. He found the engine room, killed the engineers. They never saw him coming. He planted explosives on the main reactor, not to destroy it immediately. That would be too quick. He found the weapons control, killed the gun crews, disabled the main cannons. The ship was now blind and unable to fight. He found the communications center, took control of all Rakthi channels, sent a message to the other 11 ships. "This is Commander Kang. Day One. Your flagship is dead. Your warlord is dead. You have one chance. Leave this system. Leave these people alone, or I will come to your ships next, and I will kill every single one of you." The Rakthi fleet received the message. They saw the flagship systems going dark, saw the dead command crew on the cameras, saw one human standing in a room full of corpses. Some Rakthi believed in honor. They believed you didn't run from a single enemy. 10 ships moved to attack the colony in revenge. Day One had expected this. He activated the flagship's self-destruct sequence, set it for 10 minutes. Then he jumped, not from the ship, through it. There were emergency airlocks every 50 meters. Day One knew this. He had spent years learning ship designs. Every enemy vessel, every weakness. He blew an airlock and jumped into space. His armor had limited thruster capability. Enough for emergency maneuvering in zero gravity. Enough to reach the colony's old defense satellite that orbited nearby. The satellite was broken. It had been broken for 15 years. But broken just meant it didn't work automatically. The weapons were still there. The power systems were still there. It just needed someone who knew how to fix it. Someone who had spent 20 years learning about systems and repairs and making things work with limited resources. A farmer, in other words. Day One reached the satellite, forced open the maintenance hatch, got inside. He had 10 minutes before the flagship exploded. He worked faster than he had ever worked before. Bypassed the damaged control systems, rerouted power directly to the weapon batteries, used parts from the life support to create a makeshift targeting system. It wouldn't last long. Maybe an hour of operation, but an hour was all he needed. The flagship exploded behind him. A massive fireball lit up the sky. Pieces of debris shot in all directions. The 10 approaching Rakthi ships scattered to avoid the fragments, and while they were distracted, Day One brought the defense satellite online. 4 massive railguns, designed 40 years ago to defend against pirate raids, each one capable of firing projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed, enough to punch through any ship armor in the galaxy. Day One's hands moved across the controls, his neural implants connected to the satellite's ancient systems. He became the weapon. His mind calculated trajectories, predicted movements, compensated for orbital mechanics. The first shot hit a Rakthi destroyer in the engine core. The ship broke apart, pieces spinning away into space. The second shot went through a cruiser from bow to stern. Clean through. The ship died instantly. The third shot missed. The target vessel had dodged. But Day One had expected that. He had already fired the fourth shot. Not at where the ship was, at where it would be when it dodged. The fourth shot hit. Another kill. The remaining Rakthi ships tried to return fire, but the satellite was small and fast-moving. Their big ship weapons couldn't track it. Day One danced the satellite through their firing solutions, staying one step ahead. He worked the weapons until they glowed red-hot, fired until the power system started to fail. Each shot was perfect. Each shot hit a critical system: engines, reactors, life support. He didn't just kill the ships. He disabled them, left them drifting, helpless, so the survivors could send word to other Rakthi. A warning: don't come to Nova 7. The ghost lives there. After 6 hours it was over. 8 Rakthi ships destroyed, 3 fleeing at maximum speed. The satellite finally died, its systems burned out from overuse. Day One used the last of his suit's thrusters to make it back to the colony. He landed hard in his own field. His crops were damaged. Some of them were on fire from falling debris. He lay there for a long time staring at the sky. His armor was damaged. His body was exhausted. But he was alive. Colonists emerged from their hiding places. They saw the burning ships in orbit, saw the debris falling like shooting stars, saw Day One lying in his field. Jiwoo ran to him. She was crying. She pulled his helmet off and held his face. "Dad," she whispered. "Dad, you did it." Day One looked at his daughter, at her tears, at her relief, and he felt nothing but emptiness. He had killed again. Hundreds of lives ended by his hand. The oath was broken. The peace was over. The ghost had returned, and he didn't know if Day One the farmer would ever come back. The surviving Rakthi ships regrouped at the edge of the system. 3 vessels out of 12. Their commanders held an emergency meeting over encrypted channels. "We should leave," Captain Vrak said. His ship had barely escaped. "That human is exactly what the legends say. We cannot defeat him." "We cannot leave," Commander Thrak replied. "If word spreads that 3 Rakthi ships ran from one human, we will be laughed at across the galaxy. Our reputation will be destroyed. Better laughed at than dead. The human is wounded, tired. His satellite is destroyed. We still have 3 warships. We attack together. Overwhelm him with numbers. He's just one person." The third captain, a female named Drex, had been silent until now. "You didn't see what I saw. I watched the footage from Thaxis's ship. That human killed 37 soldiers in 18 minutes. In close quarters, where numbers mean nothing. He's not normal." "He's still flesh and blood," Thrak insisted. "We bomb the colony from orbit, turn everything to ash, including him, and violate the Galactic Accords," Vrak said. "Orbital bombardment of civilian targets will bring the entire galaxy down on us. Only if anyone finds out. We kill everyone. Leave no witnesses. Say the colony was destroyed by a reactor accident." They argued for another hour. Finally, pride won over wisdom. It usually does. They decided to attack. The 3 Rakthi ships entered orbit over Nova 7, their weapons charged. They targeted the town center, the farms, everything. In the colony, alarms blared again. People who had just started to feel safe were thrown back into terror. They ran for the bunkers. Parents grabbed children. The elderly struggled to move fast enough. Day One heard the alarms from the medical center. He was being treated for his injuries. Broken ribs, severe bruising, burns from the sword's heat. But he was alive. He pushed away the doctor trying to bandage him. "They're back. You can't fight," the doctor protested. "You can barely stand." Day One stood anyway. Pain shot through his body. He ignored it. Pain was just information. Information that could be ignored if necessary. Hana rushed in. 3 ships in orbit. They're charging weapons. How long? Maybe 5 minutes until they fire. Daewon's mind raced. The satellite was destroyed. He had no way to reach orbit. No ships capable of fighting warships. No weapons powerful enough to threaten them from the ground. But he did have one thing. Knowledge. Years of experience. And a mind that saw patterns others missed. Get me to the old mining facility, he said. Now, the mine, why? Just trust me. They took a ground vehicle. Byung-ho drove. Jiwoo insisted on coming. They raced across the colony toward the mountains where the old mining operation had shut down years ago. What's your plan? Byung-ho asked. The mine has old fusion charges. They used them to break up rock formations. If I can modify them, I can create a makeshift kinetic launcher. That's insane. You'd need a rail system targeting computers, power supplies. I know what I need. Daewon interrupted. I've done this before. On Terminus Station. We built a weapon from mining equipment and destroyed an enemy cruiser. They reached the mine. The old facility was dark and abandoned. Daewon moved through it like he could see in the dark. He found the storage room. Cases of fusion charges, old but still functional. Help me move these, he ordered. They worked frantically. Carry the charges to the old ore launcher. It was designed to shoot containers of processed ore into orbit, where ships would collect them. Daewon started rewiring it. His hands moved with certainty despite the pain. He rerouted the power systems, bypassed the safety controls, modified the targeting computer with his neural implants. This will only work once, he muttered. The launcher will destroy itself. But once is all I need. Jiwoo watched her father work. This was different from farming. This was what he really was. A weapon himself, creating weapons from nothing, solving impossible problems under pressure. How did you learn all this? She asked quietly. War teaches you to improvise, Daewon said without looking up. When you're behind enemy lines with no support, you learn to make weapons from anything. Food processors become explosive devices. Medical equipment becomes communication jammers. You adapt or you die. Is that what the war was like? Constant improvisation. That's what all wars are like. 3 minutes until the Rakti fired. Daewon loaded the modified fusion charges into the launcher. He set them to detonate on impact. Each one had enough power to crack a small moon. 3 of them together would be devastating, but hitting a moving target in orbit from the ground was nearly impossible. The trajectory had to be perfect. The timing had to be exact. One mistake and the charges would miss completely. Daewon closed his eyes. Let his implants connect fully to the launcher's systems. He could feel the weapon become part of him. Feel its limitations. Its capabilities. He opened his eyes. Locked onto the lead Rakti ship. Calculated its orbit. Its speed. Its likely evasive maneuvers. Everyone get back, he said. When this fires, the backblast will be massive. They retreated to a safe distance. Daewon stood alone at the launcher controls. His ribs screamed in pain. His burns throbbed. His muscles shook with exhaustion. None of it mattered. 2 minutes until the Rakti fired. Daewon made his final calculations. Adjusted the angle by 0.03 degrees. Increased power to maximum. The launcher began to glow red from the energy buildup. 1 minute. The Rakthi ships positioned themselves. Their weapons were almost ready. In the colony below, people huddled in bunkers and prayed. 30 seconds. Daewon's finger hovered over the firing control. He didn't pray. He didn't hope. He just calculated and trusted his training. 10 seconds. The lead Rakthi ship began to move. A slight adjustment to its orbit. Exactly as Daewon predicted. His calculations had accounted for it. 5 seconds. Come on, Daewon whispered. Just a little closer. The Rakthi ship moved into position. Perfect alignment. 0. Daewon fired. The launcher exploded with light and sound. The fusion charges shot into the sky faster than sound. Faster than most eyes could track. The launcher tore itself apart from the force. Metal screamed. Systems overloaded, but the charges flew true. They reached orbit in seconds. The lead Rakthi ship tried to evade. Too slow. The charges hit it directly in the center mass. 3 fusion charges detonating simultaneously. The explosion was visible from the ground. A new sun appeared in the sky for just a moment. Then it was gone. So was the ship. The other 2 Rakthi vessels broke formation. They weren't expecting ground-to-orbit fire. Weren't expecting the colonists to have any weapons left. Hit them again, Byung-ho shouted. I can't, Daewon said. The launcher is destroyed. That was our only shot, but one shot was enough. The remaining two Rakthi captains had seen enough. They turned and ran, jumped to hyperspace without even trying to recover their dead. The colony was safe. Daewon collapsed, the pain and exhaustion finally overwhelming him. Jiwoo caught him before he hit the ground. We need to get him to the medical center, Hana said. They carried him back to the vehicle. As they drove back to town, colonists emerged from the bunkers. They saw the explosion in orbit, saw the burning debris, understood what it meant. They were free. The Rakthi were gone. And one man had saved them all. People lined the streets as the vehicle passed. Some cheered. Some cried with relief. Some just stared in awe at the unconscious man in the back seat. Daewon didn't see any of it. He was dreaming. Dark dreams. Dreams of Terminus Station, of all the battles before, of all the lives he had taken over the years. In his dream, the dead spoke to him, asked him if it was worth it. Asked him if he was proud of what he had become. He had no answer for them. When he finally woke, 3 days had passed. He was in a hospital bed, bandaged and connected to medical machines. Jiwoo sat in a chair beside him, asleep. She had refused to leave. Daewon looked at his daughter. She looked peaceful, safe. That's all that mattered. That's all that had ever mattered, but the cost. The terrible cost. He closed his eyes and tried not to see the faces of the dead. But they were always there, always watching, always asking if the price of peace was worth the currency of blood. Outside the window, the sun rose over his damaged fields. Life would continue. The colony would rebuild. People would recover, but Daewon knew he never would. The farmer was gone. The ghost had returned, and some things, once awakened, never go back to sleep. 2 weeks passed. The colony slowly returned to life. People repaired their homes, cleared the debris, buried their dead properly this time. 347 colonists had died. Mothers, fathers, children, friends. They built a memorial in the town square, a simple stone wall with all the names carved into it. Daewon visited it every morning before dawn. He stood there in silence, reading the names, remembering faces he had seen around town, people he had failed to save. The galactic news arrived on the 5th day. Reporters came from across known space. They wanted to interview the ghost of Andromeda. They wanted the story of how one man defeated an entire Rakthi fleet. Daewon refused all interviews. He stayed in his house or worked in his damaged fields, trying to save what crops he could, trying to find normal again. But normal was gone. Administrator Sung-min came to visit on the 10th day. He brought official documents from the Galactic Council. They want to give you medals, Sung-min said. They're calling you a hero. They want you to speak at the council headquarters. Share your story. Daewon was replanting a section of his field. He didn't stop working. Tell them no. The council is also offering a full pardon. For your desertion 40 years ago, you're no longer considered a criminal. I never asked for a pardon. Daewon, you saved 3,000 people. You should be celebrated. I killed hundreds of people, Daewon replied quietly. Those Rakthi had families too. People who loved them. I took them away. That's not something to celebrate. They were going to kill us all. I know. That doesn't make it easier. Sung-min was quiet for a moment. Then he said, the colony needs a defense coordinator. Someone who knows combat strategy. I'm offering you the position. Daewon finally stopped working. He looked at Sung-min with tired eyes. No, we need you. If the Rakthi come back, and they won't come back. Not here. Word will spread about what happened. This colony is marked now. Other pirates will avoid it. But if someone does come, then you run. You evacuate. You don't fight. Fighting should always be the last option. The very last option. Sung-min left the documents anyway. Official papers, medals, commendations. Daewon burned them all that night. He wanted no reminder of what he had done. Hana stayed longer than she planned. Her research was complete. She had enough data about human farming techniques to fill 100 reports. But she didn't leave. She found Daewon working in his barn one evening. He was repairing the door that had been damaged when debris fell from orbit. Simple work. Honest work. Can I ask you something? Hana said. Of course. Was it worth it? Daewon stopped working. He set down his tools and sat on a workbench. The question hung in the air between them. I saved my daughter, he finally said. I saved the colony, so yes, it was worth it. But I see their faces every time I close my eyes. The Rakthi I killed, not just here, all of them. From the war, from every mission. Hundreds of faces, thousands maybe. They haunt me. They were the enemy. Does that make them less dead, less mourned? Somewhere in Rakthi space there are families who lost sons, daughters, fathers, because of me. Hana sat beside him. You weren't hiding because you were afraid. You were hiding because you knew what you would become if you picked up that sword again. Yes, Day One said. I knew, I've always known. That's the curse of being good at violence. Once you start, it's easy to keep going, to justify it, to tell yourself it's necessary. But violence creates more violence. It never really ends. Then why did you do it? Because sometimes, rarely, violence is the only answer. When someone threatens innocent people, when negotiation fails, when there's no other choice. In those moments, someone has to be willing to do terrible things to stop worse things. And that someone is you? Day One looked at his scarred hands. I didn't want it to be. I spent 20 years trying to be someone else. But yes, when I had to be, I was, and I will carry that weight for the rest of my life. They sat in silence for a while. Outside, the sun was setting. The fields glowed gold in the fading light. What will you do now? Hana asked. Keep farming. Keep living. Try to find peace again, even though I know I don't deserve it. Everyone deserves peace, and not everyone earns it. Jiwoo avoided her father for the first week. She was processing everything. The lies, the truth, the violence she had witnessed. She stayed with friends in town, helped with the reconstruction efforts. On the 14th day, she came home. Day One was working in the eastern field, the same field where Hana first found him weeks ago. Back when life was simple, back when he was just a farmer, Jiwoo stood at the edge of the field watching him work. Finally, she walked out to meet him. Hi, Dad. Hi, Jiwoo. They stood in awkward silence. So much needed to be said. Neither knew where to start. I'm sorry I lied to you, Day One finally said. Your whole life. I should have told you the truth. Why didn't you? Because I didn't want you to see me as a killer. I wanted you to know me as just Dad, the boring farmer, the normal person I tried so hard to become. But you're not normal. You never were. No, Day One agreed. I'm not. I'm sorry for that too. Jiwoo picked up a handful of soil, let it fall through her fingers. Young Soo used to tell me stories about the Galactic War, about the heroes who fought in it. He said they were the bravest people who ever lived. I never imagined one of them was you. I'm not a hero, Jiwoo. I'm just a person who did what needed to be done. You saved us all. How is that not heroic? Because heroes don't have nightmares about the people they killed. Heroes don't spend 20 years running from what they are. Heroes feel good about their choices. I feel sick about mine. Jiwoo was quiet for a long time. When she spoke again, her voice was small. Are you sorry you saved us? No, Day One said immediately. He pulled his daughter into a hug. Never, I would do it all again to keep you safe. But that doesn't mean it was easy, or that I feel good about the cost. What happens now? Jiwoo asked into his chest. Now we rebuild. We plant new crops. We live our lives. We try to heal. Will you ever heal? Day One didn't answer. They both knew the truth. Some wounds never close. Some scars never fade. You just learn to live with them. That evening, the whole colony gathered at the memorial. They held a ceremony for the dead. People spoke about their lost loved ones, shared memories, cried together. Day One stood in the back. He didn't speak, but he listened to every word, every story, every name. These were the people he saved, but also the people he failed to save fast enough. After the ceremony, people approached him. Some thanked him. Some shook his hand. Some just nodded in respect. One old woman grabbed his arm. She had lost her husband in the initial attack. She looked up at Day One with tears in her eyes. My husband would have wanted me to thank you, she said, for the others, for the ones who survived. Day One didn't know what to say. The woman patted his arm and walked away. Byung-ho found him later. There's one more thing. The metal case. In your barn. What about it? What will you do with it? With the armor and the sword? Day One had thought about this. He could destroy them. Melt the armor down. Dispose of the sword. Erase all evidence of Commander Kang. But that would be a lie. Another lie. And he was tired of lying. I'll keep them, he said. In the barn. Where I can see them every day. Why? As a reminder of what I am. What I'm capable of. What I chose not to be. The sword will hang on the wall, dormant but never forgotten. And if another threat comes? If the colony needs you again? Day One looked at the stars. The same stars he stared at before everything changed. Then I'll pick it up again. I'll do what needs to be done, because that's what it means to be human. We do the necessary things, even when they destroy us, even when they haunt our dreams. We protect the people we love, whatever the cost. Hana's ship arrived the next morning. It was time for her to leave. She had stayed far longer than planned. Her reports were complete. Her understanding of human nature was deeper than any book could teach. Day One walked her to the landing pad. Jiwoo came too. "Thank you for your hospitality," Hana said formally. Then less formally, "And thank you for teaching me about farming, about humans, about the choices we make." "What will you tell the Galactic Council?" Day One asked. "About what happened here?" "The truth," Hana said. "That humans are terrifying when provoked. That you can fight with a brutality that frightens other species, but also that you choose kindness when you can. That the same hands that wield swords can nurture plants, that you carry impossible burdens and keep going anyway. Make sure they know the cost," Day One said quietly. "Make sure they understand that violence, even justified violence, leaves scars." "I will." Hana boarded her ship. As it lifted off, she watched Day One and Jiwoo standing together in the field. Father and daughter, farmer and child, warrior and the reason he fought. The ship climbed into the sky and jumped to hyperspace. Down below, Day One returned to his work. The fields needed tending. The crops needed care. Life continued as it always does. He walked to his barn. The metal case was still there, open now. The armor was clean but scarred from battle. The sword hung on the wall above it, deactivated. He touched the sword's handle gently. The metal was cool under his fingers. A tool of death that had saved lives. A paradox he would never fully understand. "I hope I never have to use you again," he whispered to it. "But if I must, I will. That's my promise." To Jiwoo.